Major changes to cancer diagnosis and treatment targets are expected in England as patient waiting lists hit record levels.
The government's accused of moving more asylum seekers onto the Bibby Stockholm last week, despite knowing traces of Legionella had been found on the barge.
And are you paying too much for convenience? Supermarkets are told they need to make it cheaper for people to shop in their smaller town centre stores.
In sport this morning, Chelsea smashed the British transfer record twice in the same year as they agree a deal to sign the Brighton midfielder Moises Caicedo for £115 million, hipping Liverpool to his signatures.
And we meet the woman hoping to become the first person with a stoma to swim the channel.
9 people have been injured, 2 of them seriously, after a car veered off a road and crashed into a campsite in Pembrokeshire in Wales on Saturday night. The campsite owner said a baby in the tent miraculously escaped serious injury after it was protected by its cot. The Health Secretary, Steve Barclay, says he wants to offer the help of hospitals in England to reduce NHS waiting lists in Scotland and Wales. Figures this week showed a record 7.5 million people waiting for treatment in England alone. The government claims the percentage waiting for more than 18 months is higher in the 2 devolved nations than in England. Pubs in England and Wales can continue selling takeaway drinks until at least 2025, after the government decided to extend licensing measures brought into effect during the pandemic. The rules had been due to expire next month.
The volunteer mountain rescue team that helps people who get into trouble on Iarwythfa, also known as Snowdon in North Wales, say they've seen a dramatic rise in call-outs this year. Members of the Llanberis Mountain Rescue have warned that the situation could become unsustainable if the number of emergencies they have to deal with continues to rise. Messages encouraging smokers to quit could be added to the inside of cigarette packets under proposals being considered by the government. Warnings, of course, have been printed on the outside of boxes for 50 years. Have a look at the front pages of the papers, shall we? And the Times says gunfire and clashes involving migrants desperate to get to Britain broke out in a camp in Dunkirk just hours before that small boat sank on Friday in the Channel, killing 6 people. That has come from witnesses at the Times saying that chaos spread through a camp on Friday as migrants prepared to board boats laid on by smuggling gangs.
The Mirror is leading on the story we brought to you this morning about the campsite crash in Pembrokeshire and the incredible escape of a baby who survived.
Elsewhere, the Eye is reporting that a surprise rise in inflation is set to hit next month. It's been coming down, hasn't it, a little bit, but it says this could add hundreds of millions to the state pension pot for next year.
And our worst nightmare, get it? That's the Sun's headline. The paper reporting that should England captain Harry Kane's 4th child be born in Munich, following the strikers' move there, of course, the as-yet unborn infant would be able to play for Germany. That's looking ahead. That's a lot of planning.
That's a long test, but a lot of pressure on the poor child.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's look at the front pages this Monday. The Metro looks into details of that car that crashed into a tent in Pembrokeshire. The headline, "Tent Crash Baby," as we were telling you, and miracle escape. Baby in Hull's tent terror reads the front of the Daily Mirror, which also leads with the story. Campsite crash miracle, it says. Lower-income pupils expected to be hit hardest by grade deflation on the front of The Guardian as it looks at A-level results out this week. The Daily Mail reports that record numbers of NHS patients in Wales are seeking care in English hospitals to escape what it says are longer Welsh waiting lists. Surprise hike to inflation next month will boost state pension, reads The Eye, as it reports a temporary rise in inflation is expected for September. The Times headlines with gunfire and clashes in the hours before 6 migrants lost their lives in the Channel on Saturday. Brexit boost bringing business back to Britain. Bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? But that's what's on the front of the Express this morning. The Telegraph leads with the claim from charities and experts that the impact on children shouldn't be ignored as part of the COVID inquiry. The FT leads with its own analysis, Russian groups fudge freight costs to mitigate impact of G7 oil price cap. The front of the Sun looks at England captain Harry Kane's move to Bayern Munich and the idea his new baby could be born in and one day play for Germany. And the Daily Star predicts a heat wave is on the way. And yeah, it does look like that is going to happen. So if you want to see more about that, any of the front pages, read the stories inside, then do scan the QR code on your screen.